I don't believe people are suffering because life is hard. I believe people are suffering because they mistake the interpretation that they make about life as reality. And that's the one mistake that changes everything. What if all the times that you've been emotionally hurt, you weren't actually hurt by reality? You were hurt by the story that you created about reality. That's what I like to call the inner lens, our perspective or our perception. And it influences every single experience that each one of us has down here on the planet Earth. And although we are all existing in the same place, the same planet, and sometimes we're even in the same experience, we interpret those things completely different based on our own inner lens. And that's what I want to break down with you guys today. What is your inner lens? What is the story that you've been telling yourself? And I want to show you ways in which you can change your perspective, change the story that you are telling yourself. The lens is a collection of unconscious beliefs, fears, memories, um, expectations, and emotional conditioning that shapes how we interpret the world. Your brain is trying to create meaning for everything. So, everybody that's here right now watching, they're all seeing the same thing, but they are all seeing that same thing, i.e., me, through a completely different lens. Let's say you text someone, a partner, and they don't respond, let's say for a couple hours. Immediately, you start to create a story why you think they didn't respond. Either that you think they're becoming distant, or they're withdrawing, or they're upset, or they're mad, or you think they're about to break up with you. But all that happened was they haven't answered a text yet. That's it. Objectively, it doesn't mean anything. Let's say somebody cuts you off driving and you're like, oh my God, what an asshole, blah, blah, blah. Whatever you want to think, immediately you take that thing and you give it meaning. You give all these events meaning. And a lot of the times, we're not aware of the shitty interpretations that we make. And some of those shitty interpretations make us feel shitty. And then we start to tell ourselves that story and reinforce it when we tell it to other people and they commiserate with us. Oh, that's completely understandable. You know? So it's important that we take a look at the stories that we are telling ourselves, especially when they are stories about ourselves. And then we kind of build our self worth off of these stories that we are telling ourselves. And it doesn't feel so good. So, how is it that our lens is creating the suffering? Reality happens, right? The mind interprets the event, right? Emotions follow from the interpretation, whether we interpret that as good or bad. Then our behavior follows our emotions, whatever we've assigned. We tend to blame reality for the way that things go, but reality is not the first domino that falls. It's often our interpretation that creates the situations. Here's an example. Let's say your partner is quiet. You interpret that as they're mad. The behavior, you withdraw. But now the partner feels rejected. So in turn, they become distant. But the original interpretation of them being quiet is what created the whole thing. So I want to ask you, how often are we reacting to reality, and how often are we reacting to a prediction? Your brain is a pattern recognition machine. It asks, what does this mean? And has this happened before? And if yes, then it tries to predict, right? Those predictions turn into expectations. Those expectations turn into assumptions. Those assumptions turn into beliefs. And those beliefs help create your lens. All of those things, memories, fears, traumas, they all get embedded in how you create your interpretation of the world. It's funny because most people don't even realize that they're living inside conclusions that they actually made when they were like 10 years old. That's how far back your current lens goes. So, how do you recognize the lens that you currently hold? Instead of asking what happened, start asking what meaning am I creating about what happened? What story am I creating about what happened? So, instead of saying what has made me upset, Start asking yourself, what expectation was I holding that was not met? The moment you notice the story that you've been carrying or your lens, that's the moment that it stops having complete control over your emotional state. And what changes when you discover how to change your perspective? Reality does not just change magically, but over time, you do notice a shift. The arguments kind of dissipate, or they're not as high energy, or you're not as uptight, stressed out about smaller issues. You can handle the little punches that life is throwing at you a little bit easier. You can handle these confrontations with other humans because people, are peopling. So it's not like everything magically changes, but slowly, the more you start to notice the story that you are putting onto the events happening around you, life does get a little bit easier to handle because the whole time you never really noticed that you were the one making it hard.